whereas a wave of panic and confusion has spread through Indian communities and the global tech industry as well. Why, you may ask? Well, this comes following US President Donald Trump's surprise order imposing a 100,000 fee for the H-1B visa. The US is now proposing major changes, in fact, to the selection process for the H-1B visas, which will favor higher paid applicants and strengthen wage requirements to ensure that only the most skilled foreign workers enter the US instead of the current randomized lottery system. That's what the Trump admin is saying. Now, applicants would be assigned one of four wage bands, with workers in the highest of the wage levels getting 4 times the advantage as compared to others in the lottery system. This is what's been proposed by the US, by the Trump admin. In fact, my colleague Priyanka Deo joins us for the latest on this. Priyanka, another rebuff or rejig to the H-1B rules. What do you make of this initially, and will this also be an issue for fresh graduates, fresh Indian graduates who probably would not be making it to the top band right out of college? How are things looking up for them?
Well, let's break down the Trump administration's proposal so far, because it's changing by day. And it could fundamentally change how global talent flows into the United States, or not so much. So right now, as we stand currently, every H-1B applicant has the same chance of being selected, whether they're earning $70,000 US at a startup per year or $150,000 at Meta. Under this proposal, that would completely change. So each applicant's odds would be tied to their salary level. Candidates in the top wage tiers could get multiple lottery entries, while junior developers or entry-level workers may only get one, if any. This tilts the playing field towards established companies that can pay, sky-high salaries, and away from startups or research labs that rely on younger international talent. And over time, that doesn't just affect who gets a visa. It actually could reshape the entire workforce, accelerating a shift towards a more senior, higher-paid tech talent pool while shutting the door on early career professionals. And this matters because 70% of all H-1B visas currently go to Indian nationals. This program has been the single biggest driver of Indian talent coming to the US for over a decade, working in tech, healthcare, and research, and eventually becoming the most successful immigrant community in America. Critics argue, and rightfully so, that the lottery system has been abused. So outsourcing firms have been known to submit multiple registrations for the same worker, stacking the odds in their favor and crowding out smaller employers. So this wage-based rule by Trump is meant to stop that kind of abuse and prioritize high-value jobs. But let's be honest, this approach risks punishing the wrong people. International students, as you said, who make up the majority of US's STEM graduate programs, will be hit the hardest. Most of them start with entry-level salaries, which will now fall to the bottom of the lottery priority list. And that could have a really bad effect, right? Why would a student spend $80,000 on tuition or more on a US degree if their chances of staying to work afterward are slim to none? So we could see fewer Indians coming to study in America at all, even though they're among the top contributors to the US economy and innovation system. And we also need to think long-term here, which the Trump administration, in my opinion, is not doing, because many of today's Indian origin CEOs that are in headlines, like Sundar Pichai of Alphabet, Google, and Satya Nadella of Microsoft, they first came here as students and as H-1B workers. So if we close the pipeline, we're not just losing workers in the US, we're also losing future job creators, innovators, CEOs, and entrepreneurs. So yes, the system needed reform for sure, but this is kind of a sledgehammer approach to a problem that needs a scalpel approach, right? It gives big tech a kind of an even bigger advantage and leaves smaller firms, universities, and hospitals scrambling.
Absolutely, Priyanka. As they say, everything seems like a nail when the only tool you have is a hammer. Thank you so much for putting things into perspective there for our viewers, Priyanka. Thank you so much.